time. You're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything.
But I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question in the little line. Anything you do is to make a evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
Be arrested for confidential investigation.
At this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't say anything offense. We don't mention your questions, but I haven't made investigation. Welcome to Street Law UK, where we put misconduct on display, explore police and legal content, protect rights and demand accountability. This episode is brought to us by I Spy Audits. Be sure to check and subscribe to his channel and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Auditor I Spy stops at a BP petrol station to fill up and tries to pay with a £20 coin issued by the Royal Mint legal tender in the UK, but instead of a simple transaction, staff refuse it, call the police, and what should have been a civil matter, the officers arrive, and instead of de-escalating, they escalate, arresting I Spy, even though no crime had been committed. That reckless decision comes back to haunt them because I Spy takes it to court and has recently walked away with a massive payout.
The £20 coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person at the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do?
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Well, at the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Well,
just to know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. We can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she arrives, the officer shows how unfit she is for the situation. The auditor immediately notices her body cam and asks why she hasn't declared it. Guidance is crystal clear. Officers must inform members of the public that they're recording at the earliest opportunity. Instead of admitting that, she flatly denies the requirement exists. Her next move is just as poor. She presses the auditor for his name, but this isn't a criminal matter. It's a civil disagreement between him and the petrol station. There is no legal basis to demand ID where no offense has been committed. The officer either didn't know this or chose to ignore it, both of which are unacceptable.
They're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue, that's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue, then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you, for making off without payment?
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is. It is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them...
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah, agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today whether you take your details and deal with it at a later date.
From her own mouth, the officer admits it's a civil dispute, then tries to invent a power to demand our ID, so we know you'll resolve it later. That's not how policing works. If there's no suspected offense, there's no power to compel details. She can't flip a private payment disagreement into a police-enforced ID check just because the retailer is unhappy. When she said you could be circulated as wanted, it was pure bluff. Wanted markers are for criminal matters. Threatening a criminal designation to coerce compliance is a misuse of authority and a confession that she had no lawful footing. If she genuinely thought a crime might be in play, she had to test the elements: dishonesty, making off, and intent to avoid payment. Here the auditor stayed, tried to pay, and disputed the means of payment. Classic civil territory.
So basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that. He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter. However, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details for making off without payment, yeah. So I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. Now, he's obviously not really can't want him to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But you're still going to make off, aren't you? technically without payment, but if we can get your details,
But I have paid.
but you haven't.
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Have you?
How's it
Has he
their
paid?
policy? No, he hasn't.
Right. If you haven't paid, and if you walk out the door now,
They've
then
still
you're
got,
li-
they've still got the money though.
Just
Well,
let,
no, well, whatever
just
you
let
say
me
that is.
finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them
Well, I do
because it's a civil issue.
but it's not because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer walks in and instantly makes things worse, jumping straight to threats of arrest. That's absurd. The auditor was still inside, making no attempt to leave and openly disputing the payment. There's no making off without payment because he hadn't left and certainly no intent to avoid paying. What makes her threat even weaker is the fact the auditor had already tried to pay with a 20 Royal Mint coin that the cashier refused. That alone destroys any idea he was avoiding payment. Under the Theft Act, both the act of leaving and intent to dodge payment must be present. Neither existed here, yet they twisted the situation into a criminal matter just because they didn't get his details. The officer exposed a total lack of understanding.
If you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that
Is there
the
any other
coin can be
way? Is
used.
there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being.
No,
However, we need
I don't
a
intend to.
solution.
No.
I know you
If
appreciate
you
that.
can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details, we can deal with it at a slow time. We can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
We don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid for the
Haven't
fuel.
paid for
Which
fuel.
one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately, yeah. We've agreed, we've reasoned with you now, we've tried to say that if you give us your details, just tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave, you don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel.
The officers keep warning if you leave as though the auditor is about to run off, but that moment never came. He was still in the store engaging and had already tried to pay with a Royal Mint coin. They weren't responding to his actions, they were responding to a scenario they imagined. That's not law, that's fiction. And the idea that they couldn't confirm who he was without forcing ID is just as weak. His number plate was right outside, a lawful and immediate way to confirm details, yet they ignored it and doubled down on demands they had no power to make by twisting a civil disagreement into grounds for arrest. They weren't solving the problem, they were inflating it.
I know that. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, and was that today then, or?
No,
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
correct.
Right, so was it to contact them today, or was it yesterday, or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. Well, agree to disagree. At the end of
You
the-
don't know that. It is. It's
Right.
legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
Well, if it's a
But
civil
you're not
issue, I
willing-
don't need
but
to
at the minute
assist
we
you.
don't- But at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that.
The auditor had already done more than enough by pointing out BP themselves said the coin was valid. That should have ended it. Instead, the officer spins it into a demand, insisting he call them directly, or else it becomes a police matter. He had no legal duty to assist, and refusing doesn't magically create a criminal offense. Her follow-up line, "We don't know that coin," only makes her position worse. A 20 Royal Mint coin is legal tender. If they don't recognize it, that's their problem, not the auditor's.
We're
Civil
at risk of
agreement.
being arrested because you haven't given us the details and you're going to walk out that door and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a
Make off
civil.
without payment.
But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's
So-
fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
Unlawful
But
arrest.
like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest, okay? And all I'm saying
But he
is, if
hasn't.
you get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But
You
as
know-
far as I do, then technically, if you walk out the door, it's going to be make without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
You're giving your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you
Is it urgent?
that he said he would take the coin
But he isn't now, is
if
he?
I take my mask off.
Right, well I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with it that way. For all I know, that vehicle could register somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't need to assist you.
Once you leave this situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go.
But I don't need to assist you.
Are you offering to give
Because
the
you're
staff,
wrong.
not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option, but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
You can prove that at court.
I've got that.
Prove that at court.
That's
then.
fine. You can prove that
Yeah.
at court.
Right, well, this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't
I
have to
haven't-
say anything.
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to the line. Oh, anything you do is a negative evidence.
But I haven't made off
That's
though.
for your arrest is for competent factor investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
That you're in caution as well.
And you failed the idea.
But I haven't made off.
Fails with ideals, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we ask.
This is where it tips from stupidity into abuse. Officers arrest the auditor while he's literally standing inside the store saying, "I haven't made off." That line alone should have ended it. The offense requires leaving without paying, which he hadn't done. Legally, it doesn't get more indefensible. The Theft Act requires leaving and intent to permanently avoid payment. Neither existed. The auditor had offered valid payment and was in the middle of a dispute. The offense simply didn't exist. Auditor I Spy updates.
10 months ago, I walked out of those gates after being falsely arrested for using the £20 coin. The Chief Constable has paid out £4,000 in compensation, but unfortunately he did not apologise at any point, even taking him to court. He went all the way to court, we had the hearing date, and then the Chief Constable saw some sense and paid £4,000 in compensation, but no apology.
The case was taken to court, and the auditor walked away with £3,999 plus legal costs. This shows how weak the police's position was once legally scrutinized. They knew they couldn't defend it, so they settled. But the Chief Constable never offered an apology, showing a culture prioritizing saving face over accountability. This case shows how small situations can spiral into misconduct when officers don't know the law. A simple civil dispute over a coin became a wrongful arrest because ego and authority replaced common sense. Escalation like this isn't policing, it's bullying in uniform. Officers invented justifications as they went, saying what if you walk out without paying, even though the auditor never indicated he would. They built a case around a scenario from their imagination. That's not enforcing the law, that's twisting reality. Intimidation is used as a shortcut instead of resolving the issue with patience and knowledge. Threats, detainment, and arrest were used. Leaning on fear instead of facts erodes public trust. Because if this can happen over a coin, it can happen over anything. Nearly £4,000 of taxpayer money was paid out, yet no apology. That shows priorities, protecting the force's image, not correcting officer behavior. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out I Spy Audit's channel linked in the description. Thanks for watching. This was Street Law UK, and I'll see you in the next.